Okay. Good. So yeah, my weekend was just a weekend. Not much to talk about. Let's see. Not much to write home about. So tell me, did you go home for the weekend?
No, I'm going home this upcoming weekend.
Oh, you had a lot of homework?
I had a little homework, but there was just no reason for me to be home. Other than video games, there really wasn't any reason for me to be home, so I just didn't go home.
You mean you have better video games at home?
I have video games in general at home, which I don't have here, which is unfortunate, for me at least.
Or fortunate.
Yeah, in some cases, like homework and practicing.
So which video games do you like? What people play? Call of Duty?
No, I fell out with Call of Duty years ago. It became after one of the more recent iterations, it's basically the exact same game and they don't even polish it up. It's the exact same graphics from 3 years ago when you can do way better and all that stuff. And I don't play shooter games as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first-person shooter games. But I mean, it just depends on what I'm in the mood for. I play a lot of Red Dead Redemption.
What is that?
Cowboys in America with outlaws and just kind of doing your own thing, make some money. Red Dead Redemption 1 was you have to hunt down your old gang members to save your family and all that stuff.
Oh.
And
So
then
before they get to your family, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then the second version of the game, the most recent one, was actually a prequel, and it was running with the gang and the story behind it, and it's a fantastic story, a beautiful game, so much fun.
Wow.
And then I'll play Grand Theft Auto, which is a lot of just make money any way you can.
Make money any way you
Make money any way you can. That's pretty much the entirety of that game.
That's a good game.
Yeah. And then when I get back this weekend, I'll probably play some Halo, which is a first-person shooter. I'll play a little bit of that. First, I need to quit.
How long do people usually spend on it?
Depends on the person.
Depends on the goal, I guess.
I have two main friends that I play games with. Their names are Dennis and Tiger. His name is actually Tiger. And we're actually going to start up a YouTube channel soon on gaming. This music education is not 100% what I want to do. I want to play video games and make a living off of it, but I can't properly do that without a lot of time and effort and money that I don't have. So what it is school for music education to get an actual degree at on a job that I can easily fall back on and have a stable career instead of gaming. So like my brother Jason graduated summa cum laude out of Raleigh School of Math with a aerospace engineering degree. Hasn't worked a day in his life on it. He plays music just in random bands. He plays guitar and he runs a bakery with his wife. He's never used it a day in his life. But that's basically what I'm doing, where I go to get the degree and then from there kind of do what I need or do what I want. So we're gonna start up this channel and do like just maybe weekend gaming and stuff where we live stream on different platforms that will give us money to stream, and then also record those, edit those down, and post them on different platforms like YouTube, and they'll give us money for that as well. So it's money from 3 or 4 different places on little stuff that we can do, and then from there it'll build and build and build, and then we can do more and more on that, and then it all kind of snowballs from there.
Can I have you play your A? I want to. You just tune that. Well, that's very interesting. Well, there's a lot to be said there. Some of my friends I went to school with eventually had other careers. So getting a music degree, either performance or education, is just education of sorts. Doesn't mean that you have to go into that career. I had a friend at Rice who was a master's student along with me. And then he took some math courses, computer science courses, I guess, and he liked them. Yeah, that's what he liked to do. The teacher at Rice said, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. Why don't you get a degree?" He did, and then a few years later, he joined Google. And this is back before they went public. So he's been there for a while. And of course,
So he gets paid a pretty good amount. He's been there for a while.
Yeah. It's a high pressure job, and I think he's felt it over the years. But I think it's a good job. I mean, of course, he started off playing violin. So I had other friends that play violin, got a degree. Now they're lawyers. One friend played cello, had a degree in performance from 2 really great schools, and he decided to be a doctor, and now he's a doctor. So yeah, you can do whatever you like. The only thing I would say is that when you're doing one thing, like say music ed, or you're doing the other thing, like say gaming, that you should do it like 100%, because I think gaming could. Well, there's so many things that change, and you were talking about technology and new games and
absolutely.
New things that are coming up. Now we have virtual reality things, and so these are the kind of things that you can't really predict. Well, you can, but it just
not accurately. It's hard to see what's coming, and then it comes out and just kind of.
And then when you are in music ed. You gotta have to like it, because it doesn't make a lot of money. So okay, let's go really quickly through our system, just warm it up, and touch the cello on the side over here, so you get like the huge range of motion here. Just stretch, and for you need to stretch out even as far as you can, because your arm's so long. Go to the tip. Do the same thing. There you go, stretch. Keep your pinky in place. Okay, now at the frog, and on the D and G string area of the bridge, and your forearm on the cello, and your wrist kind of high. So bring your wrist high, forearm on the cello, so that you just use your fingers to rock the bow back and forth on the bridge. Notice that I'm also following the arc. So look at the tip of my bow. See? So I'm not just going up and down. I'm actually going over to the A string and C string areas. But I'm not moving my wrist. It's just my fingers. There you go. And remember this thing. That's where you will help yourself the most, by moving
like the bouncing bow.
Yeah, moving your fingers with the help of your thumb.
Okay.
Can you try that? There you go. Good. So now let's go over. Just open strings and just
I was thinking we were.
yeah. Try it. Just. Now the other way from the A string. put your index finger in your left hand, put it right above the hair, or right above the area where, right above the string. Right on the hair, like push down to touch the string. Now dig in, feel like you're digging in. Can you do that again? I just want you to feel like dig into that spot. Ah, that's good. Rowboat, dig in. Watch my arm. Go down. See my elbow? It's going in. But grab it. Dig in. Yeah, no. Rowboat. You could also pump. Crossings you can grab it and move a little bit. So 4, 3, 2 on one string, the next string 4, 2, and then hop back to the C string 1. So that on the bottom string to top string, 2 to 4, bottom to top, that's the same note. Now from the bottom top string to the bottom string, 2, 1 is the same note. So just to know what to look for. Your fingers are like a swirl on the telephone wire. You could see that your fingers are pushing the string down a little bit, like 20%.
Like
but
it has weight, but not enough to actually.
Exactly. And then your bow, like half bows with lots of friction by the bridge. See? 4. Good. Let's do that. Do it. Go to the next one. And now, when you play the ones that are unison, the same pitch, you want to keep your fingers down. Watch. Ready? Go. Stretch your fourth finger. Too far. Yeah. Now I think your fourth finger is a little bit too. Try that again, and watch your fourth fingers too close. Good. Next one. Go this way with your finger. You're pressing. You're pressing. You're pressing. You're pressing too much.
Oh, I'm pressing too much. I thought you said keep pressing.
No. You are pressing.
I am pressing.
Now, keep it simple on the right side. By the bridge, short bows with lots of friction. So not, I mean, you have weight there, that's natural. But keep it close to the frog so the weight is natural. Not, you don't have to do any physical movement to enhance the weight. stretch. Your fourth finger needs to stretch. Now, last one. Higher. And, yeah. Now, let's do it, a little expansion on this, because sometimes we play some kind of technical exercise and we miss the real point of it, the real world application of it. When you play a scale, it's going to be very rare that you're going to actually see a piece, a part of your music that looks just like your scales.
Right.
So one could ask, like, why are we doing it? Well, there's some basic fingering, the tuning, and getting acquainted with all the patterns in that scale and that key.
Bow as well.
Yeah, and we have rhythms and bowings that you could practice as well. So if you're having trouble with spiccato or any kind of combinations of bowings, you can make variations. And variations are, like I send you that link, are a really good way to prolong your practice and avoid technical problems, physical problems.
101. Who was that written by again? 101 Variations?
Dr. Lisa Burrell. She's in Houston, also a violin professor and also a practitioner of Feldenkrais. So I want you to play the following on the C string, the 4, 3, 1, and then play the same pitches in first position, starting on the G string like this. I'll show you. A 4, 3, 2. Now, real pitches, 4. What are the notes? Okay, now you know where the notes are. Go back to the harmonics and match them as precisely as you can. A little bit sharp though. So remember, your bow needs to be clear. So, of course, we're thinking about the left hand. Have a good sound. Go. Good. So now go to the G string and do the same harmonics. 4, 3, 2. Next one. You only have to play 3 notes.
Sorry?
Only have to play 3 notes. Yeah, you do this a lot. Just lift the bow. Just lift. Don't have to make that extra noise. Excellent. That was a lot better. Now, when you cross strings, remember we've been working on the string crossing thing. Sometimes you forget that, and you're not the only one. So
I do
just
use my
keep
scales too.
Yeah, just keep in mind that when we're doing this, it's just a friendly reminder of how easy the string crossings could be, and then we would do this. So just remember that it's a lot of things to remember. I'm trying to simplify it, but well, as you practice anything, just make it a part of your list. It's like say you have a passage from the Moldau or something, and you're like, oh well, let me see how my string crossings are doing, because there's a lot of string crossings in that. So if you're going, you know what I mean? So like whatever, like
Right.
just, I don't know those are notes, but I'm just saying.
I wouldn't know either. I'm on the top part. Bad.
Right
but
there.
it still kind of applies though.
Yeah, keep in mind that you need to have your tunnel fingers.
I've always had a problem with my fingers, especially on the pinky where it wants to do that instead of that, and a lot of times it hurts to do this instead of just like squeezing it like that.
Don't squeeze. You just hang there with your pinky.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it hurts to do that.
Where does it hurt?
Mostly right here, sometimes right there. I mean, I also never play like that, so that could just be a,
Well,
back to
when-
the 6th grade learning.
When you put your arm in like this, it's the weight of the arm that is pushing the string down. Of course, the pinky is helping. But if you put your thumb here, now you're squeezing, it will hurt your pinky.
Okay.
Yeah. So
But then still it does that a lot, and then I have to force it to do.
don't force anything, just wait. Also, the third finger could help you. So keep your third finger there like a big brother helping out the pinky. And adjust with your arm. So maybe you have to go a little higher, a little lower, a little more back, a little more forward. The point, and here's a really simple way to practice. Go to the C string and curve your fourth finger and just play like this. Now go to the next string, G string, and play D, D. Open A. Yeah, keep your weight in there. Yeah, it's very simple. Practice that, and what I find is that if you are buckling somewhere, it's as if you feel like that knuckle is or joint is like the end of your finger, so you do this instead of focusing all the way down. So the pinky, of course, being the weakest one, will have problems here. So bring your arm to a good level where you can hang like this, and you could put the weight in from the top.
What if I got something like a squeeze ball? Would that help?
I think it helps if you use it correctly.
Okay.
So any kind of exercise for your hands, you must be careful about.
Right.
Because if let's just say you did that for an hour, you won't be able to move your hand the next day. So just 1 minute, 2 minutes max. Maybe you squeeze it a few times per day, like 10 times,
right.
And 10 seconds each time. Any kind of exercise for your hands can be really bad. We have a great example in Robert Schumann. He created this machine for his fingers because he thought that he didn't play piano so well. So he created this machine that when he lifted his fingers, there was like a weight. It's hard to describe, except that there was like a little rope attached, tied around his fingers. So as he lifted his finger, there was a little weight that was triggered. So as he pushed down, he would be pushing down with that weight behind him. So you have to push down with more force.
Basically working out his fingers too.
Yeah, and it ruined his hand.
Really?
Yeah, he couldn't play so well afterwards. But there are a lot of other factors. One, his wife was a much better pianist and more famous than he. So if it was the 1850s, 40s, it was kind of embarrassing that your wife was better than you, and he maybe wasn't ready to accept that. And he had other problems psychologically. He had split personality and some other things. But it ruined his hand. whatever. I mean,
Food for thought.
but maybe he did it on purpose so he wouldn't have to play anymore, just like an excuse, like I don't play, I ruined my hand.
Yeah.
But it is something that he created, and it is believed that it ruined his hand. So be careful. Be careful about it. I always tell this story that when I was like 10, I was in summer track, and I had like one event, like at 4 in the afternoon, and I thought, okay, like the coach said I should stretch, so I'm just stretching, and I was stretching like the whole day like crazy. Then of course I did my event, but the next day I was so sore I could barely move my legs.
Mm-hmm.
So stretching big muscles like that, of course, all day long, it's like an exercise.
Right.
So one has to be very careful with hands that have very little muscles in them, a lot of tendons, and so yeah,
Okay.
gotta be careful.
Right.
But I do recommend it because some people say it's helped.
Okay.
But just follow orders.
Yeah, I just need to take a look into it.
Okay, so now let's do this one. Watch. Shift for that. Now 4. No, just go 4. 4, 1, 3. So let your ear be your guide. See? You want the ringing tones. On the bridge. Like 3 times in a row, low. So remember what is the definition of insanity?
Same thing over and over again, expecting things to change.
Right.
I was really going for, these just haven't been worn away because I never play right there.
Why do you look? It's not even in tune. What did I say right before? Let your ear be your guide.
Right. I think I'm not that great when it comes to like just a little off, like right there, especially when it gets higher, it gets harder for me. So as it gets higher, I use more reference points, just kind of put me there and then try and let my ear do the work.
Well,
except
maybe
I've
you
been
should
there
try
the entire time.
you should try to not look and then listen. And the point of these exercises is to help you listen to the cello ringing.
Mm-hmm.
That way you know what to listen for. Part of the problem that we usually have is like, what do we listen for? If you could hear this sound, sorry. Right, matching that ring. Now speaking of rings, let's go to sonata.
Okay.
Yeah. Sonata means.
How's that
Sonate is the root of the word sonata. Sonata, cantare is to sing or to be sung. Sonata is to be like played or to be heard like an instrument.
Okay.
So cantata was written for voices. A sonata was written for instruments, and so sonata means to like sound.
Okay. That makes more sense.
You thought I was just making it up.
I thought you used it as a segue in that had nothing to do with that, because I've heard a lot of people, they're like, and speaking of bears, here's this TV show that has nothing to do about bears, and we just wanted to say that. And we just go, what?
Yeah, that's a pretty bad comedic trick, is when we have nothing to say.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Let's go.
how's the second movement coming along?
It's not where I would like it.
Do you have any questions about it?
Not really. I think I just need to keep going through it and keep familiarizing myself with it, primarily. The jumps just suck in the second line. Is there any good way to do that once it gets up to speed, or is that just something where you just have to keep going? So these jumps right here.
Well, we've been learning about string crossings. That's basically it.
Okay. I thought that would be. Okay.
Let's try it. You go slow, but stay in tempo. Let's talk about that first section. How long do accidentals last?
Like the.
Accidentals, how long do they last? Once you see one.
Throughout the entire measure.
Okay.
No, I'm thinking
Find your
where did I
mistakes.
miss that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Mark it.
Yes.
That is a very, yeah.
Wow, did I really?
Okay. Next.
I did. Okay.
Gotta be a little more aware.
Yes.
Playing the cello is hard because it's kind of like being without the life and death portion of it, a air traffic controller who has 3 screens, who needs to be watching all kinds of aircraft at different levels and speeds, and some are like little aircraft, some are
My
business.
aunt is a air traffic controller for the Royal Air Force in England.
Then and so it's really a difficult job. And so we have the bow, we have the pressure and the speed and the location, plus all the articulations and going right and left and slow and fast, all that kind of stuff. Then we have the left hand, and sometimes our bow creates the rhythms in collaboration with the left hand. Sometimes the left hand creates the rhythms, like under a slur, for example. But and then we have going across, we have shifts, we got different sizes of hand positions. It's a lot to think about. So anyway, what happens to you is that you may be thinking about fingers, and then you have no idea what your right hand's doing. And then if you're thinking about right hand, which happened when you're crossing strings, you forgot there's an accidental. So it's like someone who says, "Oh, I know Spanish, but every time I learn Italian, my Spanish is gone."
Right.
And then they go back to Spanish and they can't speak Italian or whatever, because they only have space.
It's only one or the other.
Yeah, and so we have to get better than that. And so one thing is to really practice separate hands. So I don't necessarily like the pizzicato technique of just like 6th grade, just practice pizzicato. But sometimes you can just practice left hand. See? Practicing with the right hand, and then on the right string at the right time with all the right rhythms.
Just minus the left hand.
Yeah, just on the zip. Relax like that. Okay, next. Let's do it again.
Okay.
Can you stay steady? point you may have not heard or haven't heard in a while. You need to think of this. There are kind of like a couple of basic rules here. One is that your right arm is the boss. Think of it as el jefe, just like, or if you want, la jefa, whatever, or jefe, just say it. The boss.
The boss.
No non-gender. Two, the left hand is like the yes man, like yes sir, yes sir, yes boss, yes boss. But the left hand is always before the boss.
Okay.
Well, as much as possible. So we want the left hand before the right hand, yet the boss is the right hand.
Okay.
It's kind of a contradiction, it seems, but it's not, because the left hand is like pleasing the right hand. It's like always ahead. If the finger is not there and the note is not prepared, you may get a squeak.
Okay.
Kind of thing. A harmonic sound, a squeaky sound, a pitch that's undetermined, but it doesn't sound like the note.
Right.
So that's why we get a lot of squeaks and scratches, because the left hand is not there.
Okay.
So avoid putting down your left hand simultaneous with the right hand. Is always really dangerous. Sometimes we can't help it. It has to be almost simultaneous. But in this case, we have a lot of string crossings and a lot of separate bows, so there's plenty of chances. So now, watch my finger. It's already down. Watch over here. That slow. So I'll start with your first finger down. This will help your memorization too. Ready? Slow. Finger. 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 Right. Go a bit slower. Watch my finger. Go. Finger, 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 finger. So, have you ever, like, in video game, maybe it's different now, but maybe you figured this out, is that there's like a reaction time when you press a button or you do something and then it happens.
There's a delay from where you do something on the controller to where it transposes to the screen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you notice that.
Oh yeah, it really makes me mad.
Yeah. But then you get used to it, and then you're like, okay, it's like going here,
and then you switch to a bigger TV, and the delay time is ridiculous.
More?
Oh yes. Like there was one game where you had to get the timing right on like picking a lock or something, and on the TV, the little TV in my room, I hit the button and it was right there, and it was practically right there. But when I got to a much bigger TV at a friend's house and did it, I hit the button and had to wait almost half a second for it to actually get in the right spot, except you've got this marker that's going back and forth across the screen. You have to hit it in the little blue area. So on my screen, it'd come across the blue area, you hit the button and it's there. On his screen, if you're at the blue area with it and you hit the button, the marker's going to be there and back again by the time it actually registers. So the timing on that really sucked. Mm-hmm. And it was from smaller screen to bigger screen, and I was talking with a friend about it, and I didn't realize it. I thought it was just like...
Well, this is what I basically finger and bow.
Yes.
Think of it like a delay, and your finger has to be there before, because otherwise you're going to hear a scratch. So
Okay.
prevent the delay from happening, but you have to be way ahead. In orchestras, especially in the European kind, and orchestras that are, playing well together, the conductor will go like this, and then the orchestra will play after a beat. Ba, ba,
Yeah, I've
ba.
noticed that. And
It's a collective thing where people just collectively decide we're just going to play together. They get the instructions and they collectively play together. It's a really cool thing. So anyway, your conductor is telling you what to do, but your finger. I guess it's a reverse delay. You kind of anticipate.
I understand it though.
I want you to work on that. This whole piece is going to be about that. Let's go to the second section though, and let's hear a little bit of that. So, I would play with 1, 2. Staying in that position as long as possible. So when do we shift? Well, we want to make it comfortable. We also want to shift on strong beats. We also want to shift when we get to the new position to play as many notes as possible in a comfortable way. And then if we have notes that are across, do that as well. I mean, play those as well. So the less shifting, the better, generally.
Right.
If you have to shift, that's fine. Just make it comfortable, make it sensible as well. So if you
Don't
can,
be shifting all over
yeah,
the place.
if you can play 5 notes in one position, great. Instead of like 3 notes and then 2 notes. So you went. You should have used the open string moment. Right there, what you can do is you can shift down on a half step. See, watch. 4, 4, shift down. No, half step.
Oh, so.
Right. 1, 4, again. Yeah, exactly. Now, you could do something different. Now, it reminds me though of in the end of the first section. You don't have to go over to the D string. Open. Put a 2 right there. And 1. That's an extension. And here's a 1 on the B. Here's a 1 on the D.
Oh, on the D?
Yeah. That's an open.
It's an open.
And then here's a 2 on the C, 1 on the E, and then a 4.
Where? On what?
It's a 4.
On the D?
Mm-hmm. 1 on a D, 4 on a D, and this is a 3
On the D?
on the E, another 4. Now, but let's go on to the second section. So We already did that one. You start there. Reading requires you to recognize patterns. So what is the pattern here?
Down, up.
Think first of notes. And let's think about the first section here. Listen. What interval is that?
Isn't that a fifth?
Try again.
It's a third. Bum, bum.
It's a perfect fourth.
Perfect fourth.
So listen to the perfect fourths. You see how that works? So
it's just fourths that are kind of climbing with a lot of fluff in between.
Yeah, but what about that fluff? See? A third, major third. And then come back. B flat. Another third.
Okay.
See how that works?
Yes.
Let's try.
It takes a second to get it all in there.
Yeah, so
ironically, I've always had an issue with music theory.
Well, you need to look for these patterns, and even if you need to look at them, even just how it looks on the page.
Right.
Meaning, oh, it looks like a certain shape. Oh, that's a third. If you go from one space to the next, that's a third, either a major or minor third. One line to the next. If you go from one space to another space and skip a line to the next line, that's a fourth. Right. So it needs to look a certain way, as well sound a certain way.
Okay.
So when you combine these things, it may help you how it looks and how it sounds. So go ahead and I'm going to write something in here for you. You can play. I'm just writing. You can play with it. Play 100%. Yeah, play 100%. Okay, sir. So what I put in here is that I want you to play the first two movements of the Vivaldi in studio this week. But one thing is you need to work on recognizing patterns in your music. Memorizing your music is a good way to do that. And why would it be a good way? Well, if you can memorize your music, then you're not worried about what to do, like where your fingers are going, for
Right.
example. And then now you could hear better. You said you were looking at your fingers, especially in the upper positions, but if you memorize it, then you are taking away a certain part. Um, you're taking away a certain part of your brain processing that you don't need anymore. It's like it's solid.
Right.
So then you have more brain power, I believe, to listen. And sometimes we're just distracted by just what's on the page. And if you're easily distracted,
Which I am.
then you should try to memorize. And then you know, I'm not trying to say memorize the whole thing, although that'd be great if you could do it. But you want to memorize, like, say, like a beat or one measure. And then, like we were talking about the patterns, it's like, oh, let's play this pattern. Oh, is this an extension, first position, shift? Okay, great. And then you listen to it and you realize, well, my string crossings are kind of rough, or I'm out of tune, or I'm not playing with the correct bowing, all kinds of things, because now you're not worried about if it's a quarter note, 16th, second finger, or whatever.
Okay.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.